This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for May 16th, 2024. This is season 13, episode number 47, and episode number 432 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Bob Howard. Welcome back to the show. And we've got a star-studded episode here for you today. Not only do we have Brant Sherwood, but we also have the two Connors from the team, Connor McAnanama and Connor Smith, talking about the championship and, of course, the pre-celebration and a couple other things. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes from both players just before the celebration began. To give you a little bit of inside information, guys, and I love doing this stuff every once in a while, and I don't think I'm breaching any problems and everything. While everybody was gathering outside and getting ready for the celebration, the boys were playing cards one last time before they were all going to depart, because that was the last time that the majority of the guys would be together. Maybe for a long time, or maybe just for, part of the off season, as you never know who's going to come back, right? And this is a strange part of the season, right? When it's all over. And yes, we got the best result of any team in the FPHL, but it's still a strange thing. Like, one of the things I'll tell you about my conversation with Coach, I was with Coach probably for about 2 hours and 10 minutes today in the office. You guys will hear about 40 minutes of that. But one of the things that I'll tell you is I got into his office. He came and got me and brought me through the locker room, and things are being torn out. First of all, the ice is now torn out. It's all been removed, and you can see the concrete floor at the arena. But he brings me in, and we sit down, and I look at him, he looks at me, and it looked like there was exhaustion on his face, and there's a little bit of a letdown. And I don't think people can really understand it, except for, hockey fans can understand this. Sometimes when the season's over with, it's just like, damn, the season's over with. In some cases, it's like, oh my God, thank God the season's over with, because the hockey season for players and coaches, it's a long season. It's dragged out. Even at 56 games, and then you play another 7 games in the playoffs, 63 games, it's still a long season. There's a lot of work that gets done and put into it. And fans, you guys stress out so much. Let's be perfectly honest. You guys worry about this, you worry about that. And at the end of the season, everybody's thinking, oh my God, it's over. And then there is a letdown. Even though the best result happened, there's a little bit of a like, oh my God, it's over. It's like, what am I going to do next weekend, right? And everybody should just enjoy their summers. That's really what it comes down to. Do the things that you love that you may not do because hockey season's in order. And a comment that Brant said, which I loved, was when he looked out and he saw what it was like a cult in front of him because of how much they were cheering and chanting and just so into it. They were so into the players and that celebration. It was like a cult. And you know what? That is kind of like what Binghamton hockey and the fans are like. It's like a cult because it's just so much passion and love for what's happened here. And I think the last 3 seasons, it's been pretty amazing how it's built up. And over the next few episodes, I'm going to talk about some of the things that are pretty impressive about Binghamton Black Bears hockey and some of the things that they've done and whatnot. And, the average attendance has gone up all 3 years. Just the whole atmosphere about Binghamton Black Bears hockey is just so different. Maybe is only comparable to the Duster years, right? No affiliations with NHL teams. I mean, there was a little bit because, minor league hockey was different back then. But realistically, that was a team that was playing for Binghamton, New York back in the early 70s. And this team is playing for Binghamton, New York now. And yeah, we had the Icemen but they were still considered Double A at that time, right? And there was definitely a lot of players that played with the Icemen that did eventually or had played before in the NHL. And there's a list on binghamtonhockey.net where you can go and you can see the former BC Icemen that played in the NHL. We may not see that with a lot of Black Bears. We didn't see that with a lot of Dusters, really, but a little bit more. But the Dusters played for the fans. The Black Bears played for the fans. And there's some comparisons that you can start to draw from. And no, the Black Bears are not going to sell out 32-plus games like the Dusters did in 1 year. That's not going to happen, right? But what is going to happen is you're going to see that it's like a rebirth of Binghamton hockey, so to speak. And I can't really put all the best words to it, and I wish I could. But back when the Dusters came, it was so rabid. There was 48-55 here so many times. That was the sellout crowd back then, right? And they were rabid for the Dusters. And when Coach said that this was like a cult out there in front of him when he was up on that stage in the celebration, it reminded me that's what it was like with the Dusters. And it's only because I've read a ton of news articles. I've read about it. I've heard stories from people who were there back then. That's the way it was. And that's what this is building up to, And hopefully next season it gets better and we get up over that 4,000 attendance mark. That would be beautiful because that would mean that Binghamton hockey, regardless of the level of what league you're in or whatever, it's one of the best places to play professional hockey. It's one of the best places to go watch professional hockey. And I heard somebody say it in the past week or so during the game. I think it was on Friday. This doesn't look like a 50. Oh, you know who it was? It was Gritty Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, who spent probably over 70 episodes on this show talking about Binghamton Senators hockey and AHL hockey in the East Division back then. He said, this doesn't look like a 50-year-old arena. It doesn't. You can walk in that arena and it's clean. It's been freshly painted. All those things make a difference, and it kind of builds up. So there is a cult here, and it's okay. The Black Bears cult. That's what I'm going to call you guys from now on, because that's how rabid you guys are as fans. And you've become kind of like what Andreas said, which is family. You guys are family to the Binghamton Black Bears, the fans. And the players kind of really just embraced the craziness that is sometimes the fans, waiting outside of the locker room, like for a long time. Here's the thing. And I can tell you from being there, Senators teams did not see that many people. They may have played in front of sometimes bigger crowds, like in the early days of the Senators. It definitely tailed off at the end. And there were always fans that liked to go to that corner and maybe get an autograph or see somebody. But the Senators players knew how to get out of that building a lot, more carefully and not be caught. The Black Bears players, they go out and they check out who's out there waiting. And then when one player comes out and someone says, hey, can you get this player? They go in and get that player for you. And that player comes out. And then maybe they have to send somebody out as well. That's the amazingness. That's what the Dusters used to have. That's what the Sens had for a short period of time. It's what the Rangers had for a little bit. But this doesn't happen in every arena. When you talk to some of these players, they'll tell you, I've been here and this hasn't happened. And I know from just talking to some players, they never played a championship game in front of that many people before. And some guys have played championship games, in their career, whether it be in pro level or the college level and the junior level. They've played, but they've never played in a crowd like that was 5,011. And I can tell you that it really put a lot of an impression on them, okay? And the sad reality is some of them aren't going to come back. Some of them are going to try to play in the SPHL, and some of them are going to try to play in the ECHL, deservingly so. Listen, we had a Division I hockey player playing on this team this year, Kyle Stefan. If you don't think he's not going to try to go to the ECHL, you're nuts. And I can tell you right now, a beautiful moment between he and Brant Sherwood where it's just an amazing thing that Brant gave Kyle a chance to get back into hockey, and it put the love of hockey back into Kyle Stefan, and he's going to try to go as far as he can with that. Remember, he's a Division I hockey player. There were less than 65, maybe 64 teams in Division I hockey when he played Division I hockey 5 years ago. And so only really good players really play Division I hockey. Okay, it's an important integral part of NHL players now play Division I hockey. Yeah, they come from Major Junior, and they come from Division I, and they come from overseas. But that's where they come from. And this season revitalized, even though it was short for Kyle Stefan. He came in late, got 17 games into the regular season and played 7 games there. But he feels ready to move up a level because he was playing in a league that Division I players normally don't play in. But we got to see him, and he helped us win a cup. Every single player that played this season, there was even to Nikita Ivashkin and Tommy Ray, who left the teams in not necessarily the best of way. Maybe even Jake Schultz, not the best of way he left. These guys helped us win a cup, and you can't forget about that. And I know fans love some of these players, and they'll talk about some of these players and maybe the decisions to let them go. But they were all in the best interest of this team to get this team to win a cup, and it did. Let me get through the must-reads, and then we'll get through some of the topics, and then we'll get to the two Connors and, of course, Brant Sherwood, because I really want you guys to hear them. But and then there's something else I want to talk about the championship celebration when we get to that here in a second. So the Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group, which I think about 20 people did in the last week, which I really appreciate. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show, and then join us. And then, of course, check out BinghamtonHockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And there's a lot of information there about the Black Bears. You can go digging for it. You'll find it. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, I've already talked about it, really. Head coach of the Binghamton Black Bears, Brant Sherwood. Pre-celebration chats with Connor McAnanama and Connor Smith. Got the two Connors on the show to talk a little bit about the championship and the celebration and just how they had been celebrating, and maybe even a little bit about what their futures may entail. Okay, so let's talk about the championship celebration on Monday evening. Now, the Black Bears decided to not do a parade, not to do it the day after the championship, and they decided to do it on Monday evening. Sure, maybe a controversial call. Maybe you would have gotten more people on Saturday than you would on Monday. But there was a lot of people there. And I think the diehards were there. And that's the big thing. The diehard fans were there, and probably only a couple of people couldn't be there just based on, work availability and things of that nature. The crowd chants were amazing, like "Thank you, Sherwood" at the beginning of his speech. And, of course, he retaliates. That's a lot better than "Fire Sherwood." Which I just to touch upon that a little bit and everything, when he first came in and he started releasing some of the hometown guys and just, cleaning house a little bit and getting rid of some of the players that he just didn't feel fit his, type of hockey team and hockey player. And that sounds harsh, right? It really does. But it's not really meant to be that way. This happens in every single organization that makes a change at coach, right? Gary Gill had to step away. They bring in Brant Sherwood. Of course he's going to evaluate. Of course he's going to bring in players that he likes, that he knows. But that half a season and then this full season right here led to a cup. So he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing, and not just, fluffing his towels here, right? Coach Sherwood and I probably disagree on a couple things too, about maybe the way he handled some things, or maybe he agrees with me and realizes, maybe I shouldn't have done things that way on a couple things. He's never once asked for my advice, even though I have definitely given him my opinion, and he always takes it very well. That's the one thing I will tell you about Coach Sherwood. And it's something that, I'm not going to go into detail on this, but this is what I love about him. He listens to everything that everybody says, either to him or about him. And he sometimes maybe gets pissed off at first, but then he sits on it for a few minutes or a little while, and he reflects on it, and he sees the perspective in all of that, which I think he respects about me, is I try to provide perspective on something and whatnot. Either way. So Coach Sherwood was told in the exit interview meetings a particular thing that they thought he could do better at. And it kind of blew himself away, because he was like, wait a second here. They actually think I should have done this even more. And there was a couple of things that he told me. And again, I'm going to keep those details to myself and everything, that he was getting that information from players, rookies, and people who had just started saying, yeah, well, if you could have done this a little bit better or this a little bit better. And he wasn't pissed off about it at all. Matter of fact, I think he really enjoyed the fact, because Coach Sherwood, I could tell you from talking to him all season long, just wants to get better. He wants to get better at everything. How he talks to players, how he works with players, how he does those types of things. So the Fire Sherwood chants are kind of funny, and I don't think he takes it personally. I don't think he's going to ever hold it against anybody. I think just legitimately he took it as a way to build the fire and stoke it a little bit and go, yeah, you know what? You want to fire me? I'm going to do better and make you love me. And I think everybody does absolutely love Coach Sherwood at this point. Maybe not guys who got released or whatever, but that's fine. That's hockey business, man. That's the way it works in all levels of hockey. People get released. People get traded because their services are just not needed anymore. Right. I really loved the Tyson Kirkby's speech. He just said, job done. Walked away, basically a mic drop. Gotta love it. Tyson Kirkby definitely got the job done, and he did it all year long. Mathieu Boilard, I love how he said, fight for your right to party. That was great. I thought the whole night was awesome. I do want to personally thank here on the air. I want to thank Andreas Johansson and Coach Sherwood for mentioning me in their speeches. It was very cool. It's a job well done on my part, and that's how I feel. That's what they meant when they mentioned me, they were pleased with the work I did. I ruffled a couple feathers this year. Writing some stuff and maybe talking here on the Power Play Post Show. That's going to happen. But I think I earned and gained the respect of Andreas and Brant, and that's the reason why they mentioned me in their acceptance speeches, which I really loved. Now I want to get to the part that was uncomfortable for me at the celebration. I was talking about this with Brant, and I feel like when I ask for and I get a media credential, I have to hold myself to a different place than just a fan or somebody who works for a team. It's different because people are going to look at me differently. They see a badge around my neck or when I wear my credential, and they see a different thing. And I want to say that I didn't understand until the celebration night that this show could have fans and not just listeners who listen to the show because they get information and they get to hear, from the players and the coaches and different people throughout minor league hockey. I didn't realize that there could actually be a fan of myself. It never occurred to me. I was having a bad moment at the celebration because of some other things that happened in my life, and I was just thinking about those things a lot on Monday. And then I went to the celebration, and I kind of hid a little bit, in the arena, talked to some people, congratulated some people. I definitely took pictures when the speeches started happening, and I took pictures of the players as they came out. Hopefully we'll get those edited sometime this weekend so you guys can see some of that. And then I was asked to sign a jersey, which was just really uncomfortable and weird, but I reluctantly said yes. And then I went out and talked to Stephen McAnanama, Connor's dad. And I went and did that and was talking to him. And then other people started coming up and asking, Katie, Miguel, Jacob Holland, and some really cool people who just came up and said they appreciated the Power Play Post Show. They appreciated what I had done, and they just wanted either a picture or they wanted to shake my hand. Peter Black also came up to me. I'm probably going to miss a few people, and I apologize. It was a little overwhelming, but I want to say thank you to all those people that did that. You made my day. You really did. It took me a little while to realize it, but you did. It made me feel good about all the work that we did this year here on the Power Play Post Show. And you fans are a big part of it, because if you didn't join the Facebook group, if you didn't listen to the show, and I see all the numbers, and every year, every show kind of progressively went up. And then Don Oliveri came on the show, and man, that was the highest rated and still is the highest rated show that I've done so far, because Don is entertaining and people love him. And hell, I love him. I'm a fanboy of Don Oliveri, and I'll admit it. But thank you to those fans that came up and said hello. I really, 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 really appreciated it. There's still some fans that I would love to say hello to as well that I did not get to see at the celebration. And partially, if you were there and you would have said hello and I was hiding somewhere, my apologies to you. I didn't realize until I talked to some of you that this show actually matters to people. And for me, I've done this show for my own pleasure, in a sense, being able to get to talk to and get to know some of the players and tell their stories. I really do enjoy doing that. So I really appreciated it. I actually said, I think Connor McAnanama was standing next to me. He was talking to his dad and everything. And someone came up and asked for one. And I said, I am so sorry. And he's like, no, man, you're a rock star. Just enjoy it. So I really, really, really do appreciate everybody who came up and said hello. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the home ice advantage and the numbers that the Black Bears had this year. Okay, I want you guys to understand that I realize that this is the FPHL Single A hockey. But you know what? What was the North American Hockey League back in the day? It wasn't the second best hockey in the world with the AHL. It was something new. And the FPHL is definitely Single A hockey trying to build up a good program. Between the SPHL and the FPHL, they're trying to build up a place for players to come play and then hopefully eventually move up. And I think over time, the play in the SPHL and the FPHL will continue to increase and get better. But here in Binghamton, we have a home ice advantage, and we really executed that this year in two different ways. First of all, let me talk about 25 wins in 28 home games. Okay? If you think about that, that's kind of like saying if you did a 40-game home season, okay, you would have to add another 12 to 13 wins to the 25. That's so freaking good. Maybe 10 wins. 35 wins out of 40. You got 25 wins out of 28. Wow. That's just domination at home. 25 wins. And two of those were in the overtime. We're actually in the shootout. One regulation loss in 28 games. And I can tell you why that happened. Because every time I talk to the team about this, it's so very true. The attendance, the fans that came there, the rabid, the cult-like fans that came to the Binghamton Black Bears, an average of 39.56, which is the best in Binghamton since 2007 and 2008, when the Senators averaged 4,069 fans, which is what I'm hoping the Black Bears can get to next year. So think about that for a second, okay? The attendance average was 39.56, which was up about 2 to 3% from last year. It is the best since 2007, 2008. Okay, so let's go back. How far back is that? It's 16 years. You go back 16 years since the last time a team has beat 39.56. phenomenal job by the fans. I can't tell you guys enough how amazing that is. But there's two other numbers I want to bring up here, right? And this is really about the Black Bears themselves and about the advantage that they had at home. At home, their goals against per game was only 2.29 in those 28 games. So they were giving up less than 2.5 goals per game in Binghamton. It's the best number in Binghamton hockey history. Okay? I want to say the F word. That's freaking cool. Okay? 2.29, the best in Binghamton hockey history in goals against per game average. That's awesome. Okay? Then we turn around and we look at the goals for per game. It was 5.86. They almost scored 6 goals per game on average at home. This is the second best in Binghamton hockey history. Only the 4th season of the Broom Dusters at 5.92 at home beat it. That's freaking awesome. Now, here's the number that is going to really blow your mind. At home this year, we scored 164 goals. And that's not bad. It's good, and it's definitely a pretty good number. However, we only gave up on home ice 64 goals in the regular season. That is, without a doubt, the best. I can't say that it's the best in Binghamton hockey history because, you have 28 games that they played at home versus 40 in some seasons, right? So it's a number that's why you look at the goals against per game average. That's 2.29. That is something that you can take home and go, that's the stat that I care about. But 64 goals in 28 games is pretty freaking phenomenal, okay? And easily one of the best sets of numbers I've seen in a long time. That's a differential of 100 goals. They outscore at home over 100 goals. Now, next week, I'm going to bring up the numbers about the away, right? Now, the away will be more about the goals against, goals for this season. And I don't have those numbers for the whole year, the whole history of Binghamton hockey. And everything, the away goals, because I've really concentrated on what they've done in Binghamton over the last 52 years. However, I will give everybody the numbers and how we did on the road this past year and everything. And if I have enough time to do so, maybe I'll get the first 2 seasons included into that stat as well. Now, there was a pretty interesting question that came up that people wanted me to talk about, which is exit interviews and what are they, right? So as you know, and you've probably heard, and maybe some of the people who don't know, brand new fans or new fans in the last few years, what are exit interviews? Okay. Hockey exit interviews are conversations that a team has, usually with the head coach, at the end of the season to evaluate their performance, the player's performance. They can help teams identify areas of improvement and patterns that can help them increase employee engagement and satisfaction, including the players, the staff, pretty much everybody. Exit interviews can also help teams determine if they have confidence in their head coach. Okay, it is a way to determine the future plans for players and finish up tasks or projects, right? And the Black Bears actually had a project going with UHS, and I'll let Coach Sherwood talk about that in a little bit. We talked about the exit interviews with Coach Sherwood. Now, we're not going to get into details with Coach Sherwood about these conversations. They're kind of like reviews. If you think about it, if you work at a job and every year you have an annual review, this is very similar to that. There are things that they talk about that are specific to hockey, playing, development, how could the coach do better, things of that nature is all a part of that. But that's what exit interviews are about. It also helps Coach Sherwood determine who he wants to have back and who maybe he doesn't want to have back. Maybe he wants to look somewhere else. Or it helps him determine what guys are planning to come back, because some guys might want to go to the SPHL or the ECHL and try. So there are conversations that are had. He told me that most of them were very positive, and I've even talked to a couple players, and they said they were positive conversations. These aren't conversations where you beat somebody down, you break somebody down, that type of thing. That's not what that's about. One last thing I want to talk about before I turn it over to our interviews here and everything that we have for you guys. Let's talk about players selling merchandise, okay? I saw Andreas broach this subject on Facebook after some of the players. Now, of course, I did post for Nolan Egbert his pads and his skates on some of the Black Bears boards that he's not a part of the groups and everything, because he was looking to sell it. Players are not starving, guys. Just remember this. Players are not starving. They're not trying to find gas money to go home, okay? They are compensated as well as they can be based on league rules, okay? And when somebody needs something, they can go to the team and get something if they need it, okay? But some players do like to sell the equipment. And why do they do this? Because if they don't have a full-time job through the summer, sometimes it does help them get through the summer. That's all it is. It's not because they can't get home, and it's not because they're not starving and stuff like that. So trust me, these guys have healthy appetites, and they're fed pretty well. They have to be, okay? They're athletes. That's the way it works. But they're not starving. They're not on food stamps, and they're not trying to get gas money to go home. In the case of Nolan Egbert, one of the things that he explained to me is that he has to go – when he goes home, he's going to go home to Long Island, okay? And – the cost to rent and get ice and to replace some equipment is expensive. And funds that he has saved up will go pretty quickly as he's trying to train and get ready to come back to Binghamton next year to win another Commissioner's Cup. Because trust me, he is determined to do that. Okay? So just understand that players are okay. And people have to realize that I know you guys are worried about them, but they are good and okay. Now, if you want to buy somebody a gas card, if you want to buy somebody something while they're here and everything, absolutely 100%, no one is going to stop you. The relationship and the friendship and the companionship and the love and affection that you have for these guys, they're not going to turn it away. But just understand that the team does take care of them really well. And the team will make sure that any player that needs something as the season ends, like healthcare or something to that effect where they need to take care of an injury, they're going to help them. Okay? So don't worry about that. I just wanted to mention that and bring it up because I saw the conversation, and I think I started the whole damn thing with the Nolan Egbert stuff. But Eggie is okay. The players are okay. They're all going to be okay. So that's pretty much it for me. What I'm going to do is now we'll go to a small break, and then we'll come back. When we come back, the first person you're going to hear is Connor McAnanama, right? And he's going to talk a little bit about with me pre-celebration. Then we'll have Coach Sherwood, and then we'll finish it off with Connor Smith right at the end here. And I'll see you on the other side of that. So we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
All right, we're here with Connor McAnanama from the Binghamton Black Bears. Connor, congratulations on the championship, number one, and thank you for talking to me.
Yeah, of course. Just happy to be here and happy to bring the trophy where it rightfully belongs.
Awesome. Connor, talk a little bit about the season because we did talk, obviously, on the podcast and everything. You and Eggie and Sam had such a special relationship. And even after the championship, you guys won it. Sam was there. He was with you. Did it feel right that Sam had to be there on the ice with you guys? Because the three of you were really a good team with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's stuff that you don't really see, off the behind the scenes kind of stuff. Not everyone knows what's going on, and sometimes we don't either. But he had been there all year. He's a great guy. I've not a bad word to say about Sam. He was over with us last night drinking, and so he's definitely not one that we're going to keep out of this.
Was it 3 days of drinking so far?
Yeah.
Is this 4? Like Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night? Monday night, yeah, so it's 4.
I've been drinking a whole lot of Pedialyte today, so this is only my second beer, so I'm doing all right.
So you don't think you can go 60 minutes right now on the ice?
If it means winning another championship, I'll be out there.
I saw the emotion for you out on the ice when you were raising the cup and everything. Talk a little bit about what you were feeling just seconds after that game was over with.
To me specifically, like not being able to play last year, I just couldn't find a team to make it on. It's just kind of surreal, you know. Like I feel like I'm still kind of taking it in, and it hasn't really fully hit me yet. But like it's crazy going from coaching last year to being here this year, and I wasn't sure if I should be crying, if I should be happy. You know, I just when you get overwhelmed with emotion, you're not really sure what the hell's going on, and I was able to keep a smile and no tears through it all.
Now, does it give you some renewed confidence in you as a player to go through the season that you just had, the confidence from Coach Sherwood to put you in as the number 1 through the playoffs, winning 7 straight in the playoffs and everything? Did that give you a renewed confidence that you maybe were missing because you didn't play last year?
I think I was always kind of confident in my ability. I think what really changed once Sherwood said, like, you're going to be this guy that's going for playoffs, I had to kind of remind myself, it's going to sound a little cocky, but, sometimes you just got to tell yourself, get in your own headspace and be like, I'm better than everybody else. And you got to go in with that cockiness and kind of just ride it out. And it might not necessarily be the case, but, if you can ride it and that's what feeds the legs, to get to a championship, then that's what you got to keep telling yourself.
Now, obviously, as you know, your father gets to know a lot of people as he's following you and everything, and he and I have had a ton of chats and everything, especially even he comes over to the press box sometimes. Talk about family. How important has it been that your mom and your dad and your sister have really kind of pushed and supported you so much?
Yeah, it's been crazy. Ever since I was a little kid, when they would always ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up, that kind of thing, and it's always been a pro hockey player. I'm 17 years old in high school, writing my senior year about how I want to be a pro hockey player, and I'm just a D3 public high school athlete at the time, and my parents never told me that wasn't an option, and I think that was a big, deciding factor of it. They never told me that I couldn't do it, and it means a lot. So
the look on their faces on the ice afterwards, amazing. I snapped a picture. I think you've seen it of you and your mom and everything.
I threw it up on Instagram.
I did you and everything, and it's just a sweet moment between a mom and a son and everything. I just got to imagine that this win is also for them as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're the reason I'm here. I was a valet. I was valet, and then I did coaching on the side, and I didn't really make any much money coaching. I just wanted to be there.
How's valet money? Is it good? Is there good tips there?
Not where I was, because we're not allowed to tip. They pay a lot of money to go there, which is understandable. It is what it is. But I got to work with my buddies, and my buddies were also able to come down and enjoy the championship.
Them, yeah.
Oh yeah, so they were able to come, and yeah, it's just the whole feeling is just surreal. It's great.
Have you thought about next season yet? What, do you want to accomplish? Is it a call-up to the SPHL or the ECHL? I know you guys went to the Syracuse Crunch and was able to get to spend some time with them this year, the three of you and everything. What's the goal for next year?
I don't know. Personally, right?
Too soon to ask, right?
Yeah, exactly. As of right now, I'm just taking it day by day, and I don't really know. Obviously, I want to. Yeah, I want to keep moving up. I was a college dropout, so I don't got a degree or nothing going for me right now. So, as weird as that sounds, it's true. So, but I want to see where I can get with hockey, and I will never forget the opportunity that Binghamton gave me. So,
have you circled the Boston Bruins training camp for next year yet?
No, not yet. I just gave it a couple pro guys in the summer, so I think we'll wait a couple more years to see how that one goes. But yeah, I don't know.
There's a certain American-born goalie that played for the Boston Bruins who did really, really well, and he didn't get his first chance until he was almost 30 years old. So it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone's gone from the FPHL to the NHL, but hey, if I'm
Scott Darling has.
Oh, really?
Yes, played in the FP and then made it up to the NHL.
Wow, all right.
I think it's a backup in a couple games.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so there you go.
If I get to be that second guy, that would mean the world to me. But I'm just going to take it year by year, day by day, and just keep a level head and keep it rolling.
Connor, congratulations, and again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, awesome.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators.
Shot here at the face-off, they win! Ryan Keller, Crispin, and home!
You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And I'm here in the office of the Commissioner Cups Championship head coach, Brant Sherwood, and he's giggling because he still can't believe that this season is over with and everything. Coach, congratulations on, obviously, the championship. A great season from the beginning to the end, from recruiting to scouting, all that stuff, to the point where you guys were able to hoist the cup up over your guys' heads. Congratulations.
Appreciate it so much, Bob. Thanks for covering the team this year. I listen to it every Thursday morning just to hear some more history or info about my players. So it's always good to crack a joke when I see them Thursday morning when they pop in the room.
Talk to me about what happened when that final tick happened and everybody started jumping up and down. I think Tyson threw the goal out of the way to protect everybody and to make it safe. What was the reaction in your head, and how were you handling it at that point?
So, even those last 5 seconds, I'm still nervous and thinking, man, if this puck gets shoveled to the net, they're gonna pop one in. We're gonna have to go to overtime and regroup there. And finally, you're seeing it tick down, and the puck's in the corner, and it's not coming out. And I think first few seconds it was just shock, and then I look over to my right, see Dylan absolutely going nuts, and then look over to Elise, and she's almost in tears, just jumping up and down. And then we did a similar thing that we did against Motor City, and just had kind of a group hug there. And then just out of respect for Carolina and coaching staff, I went over to them immediately and just shook Steve Harrison's hand because he's been around the game a lot and respect the hell out of him. And
he's had a great career.
Great career. He's an NHL draft pick, so I didn't want to, not give him some credit for making it there and kind of have that moment of hey, thanks for the battle type of deal. You put together a great team.
Yeah, those weren't easy games either. I mean, a 5-3 win and then 2 4-3 wins after that, very close all the way. And Carolina and Gus Ford, let's talk about, Gus Ford is a heck of a player at this level, without a doubt, and everything. He was their offense for these 3 games, basically.
If, a couple more guys showed up with Gus Ford, we're probably playing on Saturday, Sunday, and that's nothing against our boys, but it was kind of the lone show, and that was one of the things I said, you had to get 2 hat tricks on us, Gus, when we were walking through the line, and he's someone had to show up, and kind of was one of those things that you could tell he wanted a little bit more support. But yeah, great player, very crafty, can score at will. He's kind of Johnny on the spot like some of our guys.
Let's go back to Coach Harrison just for a second and everything. What did he say to you? Because obviously you're a young coach. He's been in the game for probably about 25 or 30 years longer than you have. What did he say to you after the Cup win? It
was basically, hey, you did a great job with these guys. Respect you as well. And, congratulations. It was pretty short. There wasn't much to it, but Steve and I have had conversations before practice that have been a lot longer. And, talking about our previous series and stuff, us against Motor City and getting through Watertown, and him talking about Columbus and Port Huron and how those guys were resilient as well and battled through and, pushed 3 games. They won a bunch of overtime games and stuff like that. So, he's just very seasoned and he's got good stories. And I know having his son along the way, too, was pretty special for him for that playoff run.
2024 is going to be a big year for you. Obviously, professionally, you just won a championship here in Binghamton. On a personal side, marriage, buying a house, that type of stuff, all happening this year. How do you handle mixing the business and the pleasure? Because it really is something that, whether it's a player, a coach, even me in my real life, it's something that everybody has to deal with. But sometimes when everybody's watching you, it's a little bit tougher.
Yeah, you got to have a good partner in crime. So Gemma, she loves that I'm following my dream and totally supports me. And definitely some things got put on the back burner, especially during playoffs and even sometimes during the season, where now my focus needs to shift to a little bit more 50-50 instead of 80% hockey all the time, and even watching hockey at night when I just watched our boys play and watching the NHL. It's just when's this hockey stuff gonna end, and we're gonna focus on us. But Sundays were our days during the season where hey, you're not talking to any players, you're not doing video, and you're spending time with me and Tucker, and that's how we managed it throughout the season. Sometimes Mondays too, and when she is here, I try to deliver her coffee and make her day a little bit easier because I'm more of a morning person than she is. But we make it work with cooking dinner at home and finding a TV show that we like at night, and mostly just putting the cell phones away. That's a big problem nowadays. Is she'll grab my phone at dinner sometimes and just put it in her pocket, and we'll chit chat and really catch up with each other.
It's funny too, because I think there was a Sunday where I texted you and you were actually at dinner with Gemma and business partners of hers or something to that effect.
Oh,
and you remember that? So I've actually interrupted dinner, so I can. So if you have any issues with me, I understand. I get it. My wife understands it as well and everything. So talk a little bit about some of the players this season. You had some great guys who really excelled and everything. You and I talked a little bit off air about some of those guys, but is there anybody that you would really love to just kind of talk about just for a few minutes because of their growth or something to that effect?
Man, it's you could just go down the list. I might as well. Tomer just being completely bought into the team concept, and kind of taking a back seat maybe where he wouldn't like to be on the power play and doing a job there. Tyson Kirkby, unbelievable leadership, very vocal, kind of just another, I'll just say, another head coach with myself. He leads the way and he keeps the boys in check when maybe I'm a little too nice. Don Oliveri just coming in and winning a group over, being a weekend guy. That's very hard to do when you don't practice, and these guys welcomed in and appreciated his hard work on the weekends, and obviously loved his cannon of a shot. The growth with Gavin Yates, just personally, he had some, hiccups through the year as far as suspensions and stuff like that, but towards the end, probably our best player on the ice. He gets the Conn Smythe of the Federal Hockey League and completely takes over playoffs, and just watching him grow as a person was awesome. Steph, probably the most improved player in a month time frame than anyone I've seen in pro hockey. Awesome guy, very lucky.
A lot of skill, and I think he's going to move.
Yeah, very lucky to pick him up. Connor Smith, watching him grow and become more of a man, and just adding a little bit more physical style game to his
I hope
talent.
He gets a little bit more physical.
I want him to get more physical too, but the fact that he's sticking out his legs, blocking shots, the rat man, low guard, just mentally that is very hard to do.
Can you explain that nickname?
Oh, the rat. He's just, he's getting underneath guys' skins left and right. And it's very tough to even, gear up for that in a game and know that you got to talk the entire time and get underneath guys' skin and go to the net front and take a beating and giving guys jabs off face-offs. It doesn't feel good when they jab them back, but like.
And he took some beatings sometimes, not like fights or anything like that, but he took some
whacks, some spears here and there. And one thing that really stood out with me, for me with him is right, like when the guys first come on the bench and starting lineups announced, and then there's a couple guys that come on the bench first, and Logs and Samaro usually the first ones. They do knuckles with Psalms, and then Logar just right in game 3 goes over to Schnapp. I don't know what he said, but Schnapp's head's turning and he's like this, and I'm sure there's a lot of profanity there, but I'm like, hell yeah, Logs, let's go. You're ready to go. All right. And I mean, I could keep rattling them off. Fletcher, like, unbelievable best forechecker in the league, good F1, great stick, unbelievable PKer. Tons of improvement on his offensive side.
Dropped the gloves like 5-6 times?
5-6 times. Yeah. I think he had 4 fights in a row at one point when, like, I think our team was going through a tough time and we needed those sparks. So, like, having the awareness to bring some energy and kind of step up for your team and lay it out there physically. Blake Tosto came in, Johnny on the spot, like, scored a bunch of goals in his first couple games. Yep. Great power play addition, but more so, he only got like 5 to 10 minutes in those last few games, and I kept going up to him, hey, like, thanks for supporting your boys on the bench and all that. He goes, Coach, I don't care. Like, all I want to do is win. And just another character guy. Andrew Utoro, didn't play much, towards the end in playoffs. One of the most improved guys on the team, lighting it up in practice, pushing the pace every single day. He's got a bright future ahead of him. Cameron Clark coming in and just giving us speed and a little bit more depth to our lineup, capitalizing when he can. His 2 goals against Motor City kind of stand out to me and propelled us to a W. Ramekers always coming in with a smile every single day. I'm smiling thinking about it because it's just like he's just
and it's
happy.
A big smile too.
Big smile, just like great energy around him. Just good guy that can contribute in all areas. I'd like to see him be a little bit more meaner this year. We talked about that because I think he can run some people over. Justin Samaro, like unbelievable as far as doing the little things. Net front presence, battling for pucks in the corners, blocking shots. There's, we're doing a lot of line matching for the Carolina series. Not so much the other series, but Carolina, we really wanted to focus on forward and the check line. And there's one moment during the game where you get last change, but there's always like it transfers over, and you're gonna have not your matchup for like 10, 20 seconds, and Samaro recognizes that forwards line's on the ice. We want a Kirkby matchup. He's grabbing Logs and saying, "Hey, we got to change, and we're getting the right guys out there, and getting the matchup."
That's the hockey IQ I talk about.
Unbelievable! I thought it was one of the biggest moments of Game 3. Wow. Dakota Bond, just defenseman of the year. Probably the best defenseman.
He would have been first team All-Star in a heartbeat if.
Oh, automatic.
Yeah.
We had to give Dan Stone some credit there, though.
Yes,
so he ended up getting an award as well. But Dakota Bond, obviously you see him on the power play. You see his gaps and his stick work and
scored a couple of short.
How he joins the rushes. 5-on-3 shorthanded goal in Port Huron. Wow. Unbelievable. Never seen that. So all those things, great hockey player. No one, you probably pick up on it. Guy played with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
For Friday's Game 3.
Wow.
High ankle sprain. Guys don't do that. Unbelievable. Same thing with Kirkby. AC joint separation, grade 2 or 3. So playing with that and. I was kind of concerned with him even lifting the cup up. I seemed to, do it pretty well. I think the adrenaline kicked in.
Yeah, it did.
But, he's AC joint separation. You're taking face-offs, and try taking a face-off with an AC. I've been there. It sucks. It clicks. It pops out. It's terrible. And he battled through that. But Dan Stone, Mr. Reliable, just can always count on him to, skate the puck from one zone to the other, but also shut him down defensively, block shots, good angles.
63 games this year, most of
Iron Man. And I tried sitting him down towards the end to, get some other guys in the lineup, and he won his Iron Man streak, so we got that for him. Fitz, such a cool story, picking him up from LaGuardia and racing to the game and getting to play in Danbury. He hasn't played in like 2 months. I think I might have messed up his game. We got him a big pasta dinner at an Italian restaurant in Danbury, and he goes -3 in the first game. We're driving back to Binghamton in the car together. It's pretty quiet, and he's so disappointed in things that happened in Huntsville, disappointed in his game tonight, and he's probably questioning a lot of things, and he's beating himself up, and it was pretty understandable for that game, but to watch him progress and then finish out the 15 games, big risk, and then ends up being one of our best defensemen in playoffs, and I think up there as far as leading in scoring for a defenseman. I think he had 4 or 5 points, some big goals against Watertown, some big plays off the rush. Even I'm thinking specifically in the game when he's sitting behind the net, our fans get excited when he sits behind the net because it's he's toying with a cat like a mouse. He's gonna use the net to his ability, and no one's gonna freaking catch him. So awesome, Jesse Anderson.
Wow.
Great freaking leader. You talked about a bunch.
Soldier.
The only position that he refuses to play is goalie. Found that out. But as far as leading the way, and he's more of a quiet leader. He's just gonna show up, and he's gonna hold himself accountable. I could call him out in video. He's gonna take it and know that it's best for the team, and he's just couldn't thank him enough for being part of the leadership group. Dan Weber, I think, is the most improved throughout the year. He solidified his spot as the 5-6 in February area, and he absolutely stepped up offensively, making plays, whether it's first pass, whether it's carrying the puck out of the zone. He started dancing a little bit more, toe dragging at the blue line, got a little cocky, and I'd reel him in here and there, but he found a good balance of simple hockey and being creative. But JT Walters led the way all year, plays a huge role during the regular season, showing the guys what to do, running the D during practice, and unfortunately doesn't get in the playoffs, but there's no doubt he had a huge impact on this organization for the past 2 years, and he made his stamp in Binghamton, and very thankful to have him a part of the leadership group. It was he has some good character there. Matt too, Voislard, coming in, just giving us that edge, that aggression that we needed to know we're not going to be pushed around type of deal. So we were missing a little toughness, and he provided that, but then also making plays and blocking shots, and gets a big goal, game-tying goal. It, propels us, gives us a little confidence going into the third, and then LA, absolute workhorse, doesn't stop. See him in the gym every single day, seeing him pick up his teammates, seeing him do extra work on the ice after practice. He's got a bright future in hockey and life, and just love the way he rallied around his teammates during playoffs. Just a great guy overall. Brody Thornton.
Saw him for 5 games, and that's it.
That's it. I didn't even get him a chance to play at home. He gave me a lot of crap for that.
Wait, all 5 of his games were on the road?
We're on the road, and mostly at Watertown too. So he's like, "You're making me play in this crap rink," and I was like, "Dude, I need you to get in these 5 games, but." Why the hell did you show up so late? But at the same time, he was winning the championship with Adrian. So he
had a good year.
He was just late to the party. But as far as being a guy next year, it's he's he's going to be a player, and Binghamton's going to love him. I just can't wait for him to get a home game in and, show the people what he can do. Very lucky to be picking him up towards the end. Goofy guy too, fun in the room, maybe a little too loud off the start, but he grows on you. Nolan Egbert, unbelievable guy, genuinely happiness for Connor having such a great run in playoffs, and he could have, you want to play in playoffs, and he just was fully supporting and so happy after each game. But you want to talk about Eggie, he could have been there. He could have been number one on any other team in the league, but he stuck with us and grinded it out because he loved his teammates. And you think about a weekend for Eggie, that's pivotal point for the Black Bears is the Watertown weekend.
Yeah.
Wins game 1 at home in February. Game 2, he comes in relief, and we rally back around him. And then he wins that Sunday game too as well.
Phenomenal.
Unbelievable. And I believe that might have been an overtime win too, but just some gutsy wins, and just can't wait to see what the future holds for him as well.
Connor
and then,
Mack.
Yeah, C-Mac. Just he's one of my favorite points of the day is watching Dan Weber, Josh Fletcher, and C-Mac come into the locker room because they're just goofy. They come in with their stupid gas station sunglasses. Their hair is kind of flying everywhere, and they got mustaches, or they got a good story from the night before, whether it's beating each other up on NHL 24 or COD or whatever stupid happened over at Windy Point. So just having those guys come in excited and just happy to be a hockey player is it makes the biggest difference in the world. You don't want grumpy guys coming in the rink, and sometimes you can be grumpy, but if it stays too long, it's a little too much. But absolute backbone, playoffs, very composed. Obviously, he's a great goaltender, quick glove, quick blocker, gets side to side fast, good with his angles. But he's just a competitor. That's how I look at him. He's just he wants it. He would come in and tell me, Coach, I'm not losing a game. I'm not losing a game for the rest of the year. And I'm you say that, and I'm I really hope we don't lose. And he was completely right. He didn't lose a game for the rest of the year when he started saying that.
But for fans and media people looking down at Connor, it didn't seem like he ever got flustered in a game.
No, he didn't. And when he comes over the bench in media timeouts, I sometimes look over him, give him the head nod, but most of the time I didn't, because I was just he's got this. He doesn't need to be told anything, and he's a self-starter. He knows what he needs to do. He's his own worst critic, and holds himself accountable. Sometimes I think he does it a little harshly, where I don't want him to beat himself up so much,
right.
But hey, it works for him, and sometimes he's the one giving himself a wake-up call, and nothing needs to be said. So pretty excited for him. He could have, easily got MVP of the playoffs as well, but obviously much deserved by Gavin and what he did during that stretch.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Some of the fans were asking, what happens on exit interview day? Now, you don't have to give us any details or anything about what you said to any of the players or what they said to you, but can you explain that process to the fans so they better understand what exit interview day is like? So,
for exit interviews, this year was a lot easier because, most of the guys are happy and or even still a little hungover from the night before, so it goes a lot smoother. Tucker helps me out by, being that calm presence that's constantly licking them, jumping all over them. So, so first thing I do is, toss the ring size little chain, and they start putting that on, seeing what their size is.
All right, first
of
all, who's got the biggest ring size?
Let's take a look here. So we got a couple guys. It's Liam Anderson, Connor Smith, and JT Walters. So they're at 12.5. I don't know if they went middle finger or the ring finger or pinky. These Adrian guys, they're like, well, I got to use my pinky finger because I already have one or two. And I'm like, all right, must be nice, man. So mostly it's like I go over their strengths and weaknesses. So
Sure.
I talk about what they did well, and then kind of the things they need to do over the summer if they want to make it to the next level or even contribute even more. So we go over that type of stuff. So whether they're returning or not, most of the guys are going to be returning. They love it here and they want to come back, and they're very excited about defending the title. And then just kind of summer plans, like just, hey, what are you doing for work? Like, how are you going to stay afloat? When are you going to start skating, work out? Are we doing rehab? So you also go over, like, guys that have injuries. Do we need to clear some more stuff up here? Do we need to do a couple x-rays? Luckily, we weren't too bad with injuries this year. There's no surgeries. Everyone was fairly healthy. Obviously, there's these bumps and bruises that go along the way.
Everybody has that after.
But for the most part, it was a healthy season. So thanks to Elise for being a second mom to these guys and making sure they're good to go on the weekends and getting their proper treatment done and sending them to rehab when they need it. And also goes for our team chiropractors as well. They did a great job with the guys on Tuesdays, and I can't thank them enough. Then they had to finish up some stuff over at UHS. We did a case study over there, so we've been partnering up with UHS to kind of help them out. So making sure they're getting their last appointments done. They weren't too happy about doing another appointment, and it's like MRIs on the brain. See how a brain develops through the season. If there's any retraction, or if it's good for the brain, or anything like that.
This is something we didn't know about. This is
So at the beginning of the year, we had like 10 to 20 doctors in here doing all sorts of tests. It looked like an NFL combine, and I don't really know exactly all the tests, but it was good to look out for the players. Andreas linked us together, and we gave them access and let them study these players' brains. Hopefully there's a lot of stuff going on in there, but they just had to finish up a driving simulator with that. So they did all sorts of activities with that case study. So
that's so cool.
Definitely interested to see when stuff comes back. They can get an image of their brain, print it out, and they'll be able to keep that forever and stuff.
Did they do this on you at all?
No, thank God. No. Just the players, and they get the ice times too. See how much they're how much they're on the ice and stuff, and maybe that affects how many hits they're taking and all that stuff. So a little bit above my head.
Well, the science has changed so much in 30 years. Even in the last 10 years, it's changed so much, and it's so much better because it's going to help players and teams and coaches and trainers know how to treat or help players when years ago we didn't know how to.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't know the full effect that a hockey season takes on a player's brain. So they'll be able to gather that information and come up with some answers to maybe why the brain is affected in this sport. So it's going to be very cool to see what they come up with and what type of response they get from the studies. But then you start getting into when they're leaving, and most of the players, they're going to be heading out this week, but there's a few players that are going to be sticking around for the next couple weeks, and I'm sure I see them at a Rumble Ponies game or out on the town, or bringing the cup to maybe a school or a youth baseball game or something like that. So there's a few guys that'll be around, and then kind of the last two things I want to. I'm a young coach, and I want to hear feedback on what I can do better. So it's usually awkward to start, but I encourage them to come on, criticize me, give it to me. What do I need to be better at? And I'll give them examples and stuff, and then they'll start thinking. I'll see their minds turn, and they'll give me some ideas of like, hey, like maybe go into a little bit more depth into video. So we did a ton of video this year, but sometimes you might not explain it thoroughly to the guys to know exactly what you want. Like there's, I'm sure there's some clips where I'm like, hey, you can't do that here, boom, and then moving on to the next clip. And you might need to ask those questions. Hey, do we understand this? Is like everyone on board? And I would say 50% of the room is, but sometimes it doesn't click right away, and you do have to explain that, and you might need to draw it up on the board as well. Connor Smith wants to work out until March, so he wants mandatory workouts. So that was one.
Connor, that is now on the air.
Yeah,
it's now been made public for all of your teammates to remember that.
So he wants mandatory workouts on Mondays for the whole season. No, what I noticed is these guys want to be pushed even more, and a couple of the guys, they said I was too nice, and I'm like, too nice? What? I'm like, yeah, like, come on. They're like, yeah, maybe, like, lay into us a little bit more. I think it was Dan Stone. He's like, at the beginning of the year, the practices, you were on us, you were pushing us, and then, like, towards the end, like, you laid off the gas a little bit, and, you want these guys happy coming to the rink. Yeah. But at the same time, there's a balance with, keeping the guys happy and holding them accountable.
That's something that you and I have actually talked about before, where you said to me, he goes, well, I'm trying not to be as hard because they've worked so hard this season. And so, but then you hear it from them, like, well, you were on us and then you weren't. It's like, yeah. So that's an interesting point to hear. Usually
you lay off towards the end. So, sure. Like, March, like, you're not going to put these guys on the line after 7-8 months in the season unless they absolutely need a wake-up call. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like sometimes the hard practices towards the end, they're like, there's got to be a threshold with it. I think you can push them, but you got to know that their bodies are hurt and they need a little bit more rest and recovery. And then sometimes a conversation is going to go a lot further, or a video session that's going to go a little bit longer instead of being on the ice. So you try to balance it out, but I might have, laid off a little too early. And I like a couple missed passes in the first couple drills. I think I could have got on them harder. So,
but the result in the end, everybody's got to be happy with it.
Oh, they're happy with it,
yeah,
but maybe we don't go through the little inconsistency in January and February if they're being pushed a little bit harder in practice, and you're calling guys out a little bit more for their mistakes. So.
But that's a delicate line.
It is.
It's hard for a coach
to
do, because you're not just a coach. You've also been kind of a guide for some of these young guys, because you're very close in age, and though you can't necessarily go out and hang out and party with them because you're kind of like a manager.
Yeah.
At the same time, you have a relationship with a good portion of them that is positive, and you want to keep it that way.
Yeah, I would, if the guys were to, I guess, label me, I think they'd all say I'm a player's coach. I really look out for them, and, I can speak their lingo and whatnot, but, there is a degree of separation that you need to have as a coach, and they need to know, like, hey, we're friends, but I'm also your coworker / boss, and you got to be told, when you make a mistake, you got to fix it. And whether you're telling them right away or you're letting them make that mistake a couple times, letting them figure it out on their own, it is hard to find that line. But there wasn't a whole lot of separation with the players Friday and Saturday night. But even they went to the baseball game last night, and I decided to opt out. I'm like, I can't be drinking with these guys every night and stuff like that. So as much as like you are a player at heart, and I know I've turned in this coaching role, but it's like you have to keep it separate. You got to keep it honest and make sure that you're on the team, but it's just a different aspect, and you got to look out for these players' best interests. And sometimes being their best friend is not the way to go about it.
self-reflection for yourself. What about you? What have you thought about this year that maybe you could have done differently? Obviously, results are great, so we're not nitpicking or anything like that. But is there anything self-reflection-wise that you could go back and look at and go, I might have been able to handle that a little bit better than I did?
I think I could have accepted the Fed for what it is sometimes. And that is, Danbury Ice Arena. It is what it is, and sometimes you just got to walk in there and just be like, I'm going to get every cuss word under the sun at me, and they're going to be all over us, and there's no curtain, there's no tunnel, they're right outside your locker room, and you don't get to take a breath around them. And I wish I handled it better. It's sometimes the environment you're in that, like, all right, you want to say that to me? I'll say something back to you, and you're not going to like it and get them more riled up. But it, I think I could have been better tempered, I guess, at the beginning. But then a part of me is like, I felt like that got used against me. Whenever there was like a fine or suspension handed out, it's like, oh yeah, Sherwood up to his typical stuff. And it's like, it's not, I just wish they took a little bit further review into it and not just like took one guy's word for it. So like, you just get like kind of put labeled that way, and it's like, whatever. So accepting that more towards the end of the year, I think that was huge growth with me, and just being able to calm down and talk to the refs in a normal manner. But some of these refs, they don't listen to you unless you really have to grab their attention, and it's sometimes you got to yell at them before your players start doing it, and you got to beat them to the punch to I think that fires up the guys a little bit. So there's a balance with that I constantly have to work on, and definitely save the team a little bit more money.
Last question from me right now at this moment, until I think of something else. But Brooksy said at the end, mission completed. What does that mean to you?
It just means like you think you're recruiting all summer, and you're talking to all these players like a couple times a week and trying to convince them to come, and you think you're doing the right things and putting the right pieces together and removing the right pieces that need to be out. And you have your doubts, you have your questions. Am I doing the right thing, or is this what's best for the team? And it just solidified it for me, and it really felt like, hey, mission accomplished. We set out what we wanted to do, and we didn't want anything less of a championship. And it's just crazy that it actually, came through. And I know there's players in this locker room that said we were going to win it the entire year. And
Jesse Anderson was very confident.
Yeah, and I'm happy they left that out on the news, but he said we have it in the bag. And it's just like, I'm not that guy. I guess I have trust issues. So I don't trust everything, and sometimes it takes me a while to, I want to say, I believed in these guys all year, but like I've just seen so much crazy stuff happen in hockey, and sometimes you might let a ref determine the game. They might change the divisions. They might do whatever, and we just handled those type of
suspend you.
Yeah, exactly. Those type of distractions. These guys were so weathered for it, and they didn't bat an eye, and they just went to work. And it's wild when you pull it off, because I truly didn't know if we were going to be here, and then when you finally get there, you're like, just gives you that reassurance that you are doing the right things and you're moving in the right direction.
Coach, we've talked many times. I hope this is not the last time we get to talk, whether it's on air or off air, because we know that obviously people are looking at you. People are seeing you. You're a young coach. By 40 years old, you could be, AHL and NHL assistant coach somewhere. You never know. But thank you so much for all the time. One of the things that doesn't happen often is people don't always open up the coach's door and let a media person come in and have the access that you've allowed me to have, which is great. I get it. You guys trust me, and I appreciate that, but it doesn't always happen. So thank you so much for this whole season, the access and the ability to talk to you. And again, I'm standing in his office. That doesn't happen that often in the world.
Well, first of all, thank you, Bob, and you were a part of this team's week, like throughout the whole season. Like, I can tell you, I would say 85% of the guys listen to you, and it's part of our, whether it was my Thursday morning, but getting a little recap on the week before, who we're playing against, and then being able to listen to one of my players talk about like where he grew up and where he played, and just finding out some different facts about the guys, so then I can bring it up in conversation and create more of a connection with my players.
That's what LA said. That's what LA loved about the show, was just being able to learn something about one of the other players and be able to talk about it.
And I think it's more so for the guys that the guys that live at Whitney Point, they have like a 20-25 minute drive, so it just makes the drive go by easier, and it's kind of like, it reminds me of just like Texas football, like high school football, and you're going to school that morning and you're listening to the local sports station on the radio, and it's like, oh, is so and so gonna have a big weekend? We're facing Midland or whatever it might be. It's just
it feels like a compliment. I think it's a compliment.
It's a compliment.
I'll take it.
It pumps you up for the weekend. Yeah. And even like when we're doing bad and you're not saying so nice things, I want to prove you wrong, and then I want to hear it the next week. It's like it gave us the coverage, and it gave people insight to what's happening in the locker room and these players' lives, and you just get a cool story out of each one of them, and it's it made this year that much more special. So thank you for what you've done, and it's been awesome. Welcome you in. It's going to be something you're going to be a part of for years to come.
Awesome. He is Coach Brant Sherwood. Thank you so much, Coach, again.
Appreciate it, Bobby.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers.
Here's Don Biggs taking a slash and following through. He's hauled down. Now we have Don Biggs having a fisticuffs with Possum.
And you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Connor, talk a little bit about the last couple days. You guys have probably partied pretty good Friday night. I don't know if there was a get-together or a party on Saturday and everything, but talk a little bit about the last couple days and how you guys have enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's been unreal. I mean, everybody being together and just celebrating something that's, for some people, once in a lifetime. It's amazing.
But not once in a lifetime for you. Obviously, coming from Adrian, you felt this kind of before. But is this a little bit different being a pro now?
Oh, it's completely different. I mean, like, winning the national championship, we really only had like family and close friends. Whereas here, we have the entire city at every game watching and just supporting us through everything.
Talk to me about the last 30 seconds of the game just before you guys clinched. What was the nerves like? What was the belly telling you?
I wasn't too nervous. I mean, when they scored that goal with a minute and something left, I got a little nervous because it was my penalty. So it ate at me for a minute there. But just the last 30 seconds, I honestly don't really remember much of it.
That wasn't really a good penalty for them to call at that time period, was it?
No, definitely not. I wasn't too happy about that one. I made sure they knew that I wasn't too pleased with that call.
Well, I saw Tyson actually yelling at Dave Jackson, who was off to the side. He was like, "Are you kidding me?" So that was one of those crazy moments and everything. The experience on the ice afterwards, how was that?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, just being able to be out there with all the guys that we've gone to war with all year and be able to celebrate something like that was...
And then the family.
Yeah.
Your dad was there?
Yep. My mom and dad were both here. My mom didn't get to come on the ice, but my dad was on the ice. And, yeah, it was nice to have my dad out there, my girlfriend, a bunch of friends. So it was, it was great.
And raising the cup up above your head. I mean, talk about that experience, because that is something that kids, I mean, I was that age thinking about the same thing when I was a kid as well. Talk a little bit about grabbing that cup, and do you remember who gave it to you and who you gave it to?
Dakota Bond gave it to me, and I gave it to Samaro. But honestly, besides that, I kind of blacked out. I don't really remember it.
Yeah, because you went down, you came back, and everything. How does this charge you guys up for next season, whether it's here or somewhere else? Because some guys are going to move on. That's just the nature of hockey and stuff. A lot of you will probably stay here and play again unless you get an opportunity somewhere else. But how does this charge you for the next potential season of hockey for you?
It makes you want to just chase that feeling again. I mean, it makes you want to work that much harder just so you can feel that again at the end of the year. I wouldn't say relief that it's over, but like you're happy that you won, obviously, and all that. Like, it would have been a completely different feeling had we have lost. I would have, like, everybody would have been a little upset, but like everybody's in like a good mood and just good spirits all the time now that we won. So I think everybody's going to work that much harder just to chase that feeling again.
I talked to you on media day. I don't think you knew what this season was going to be. When did you start to feel like that this season could be a special one? I mean, I said it on my podcast multiple times. This is a special team. There's something special about this team. When did you start realizing that this team was special?
From day one. I mean, just everybody got along. Compared to last year, I mean, we had like some cliques and stuff like that at the end of the year. I wasn't here the whole year, so I didn't get to see everything. But last year compared to this year was a completely different team. I mean, just all the guys got along really well. There was no like hatred towards other people on the team, and it was just a band of brothers.
Cool. Connor, congratulations, and thank you very much for all the time.
Thank you.
All right.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. So glad that you stuck with us, and I hope you enjoyed this episode with Connor Smith, Connor McAnanama, and, of course, with Brant Sherwood. Again, I want to thank everybody for listening all season long. We still have some great episodes that we are planning coming up to get you through the summer. We'll keep talking about hockey. I think I have a really cool guest that will come up, and we'll probably talk to him sometime in July. And we're gonna talk about some women's hockey and everything, which I think will be very cool, very, very cool. So stay tuned for an interview with Stephen Brown a little bit later on, and not the Stephen Brown from the Danbury Hat Tricks. This is a different Stephen Brown who is up in the Albany area of New York, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about hockey up there and everything, which is going to be very cool, an under-19 team. So I'm really excited about getting together with him and talking to him about that. But coming up next week, we're going to have Andreas Johansson to talk about this whole season. We're going to break everything down with him and get his opinion on a lot of things. And then, of course, in 2 weeks, we're going to have Dylan Konicki on. He's the equipment manager. I think he was probably the biggest rock star, probably the happiest guy on the team about winning the championship. I know the players played and they were happy, but I think Dylan was that more excited. He got to be a part of this team and everything. 2011 was very special, but for him being the equipment manager here in Binghamton and seeing it happen here on home ice, again, another very cool thing about this that I probably haven't talked about enough. I do want to throw a stat at you. If you're listening still, this is a cool stat. The Hershey Bears have won like 11 or 12 Calder Cup championships. They've only won one on home ice. How about that for a friggin' number, right? One Calder Cup championship on home ice for the Hershey Bears. So it doesn't always happen, and maybe there are teams out there that have won multiples on there, but if the Hershey Bears have only won one on home ice, you can only imagine how crazy their fan base will be when they win it again someday on home ice, because it doesn't happen enough. Either way, I've been talking for way too long, so let me get through the must-reads, get you out of here, and like I said, look forward to next week with Andreas Johansson and Dylan Konecki. We've got a couple players from the Black Bears that we're going to talk to during the summertime, including Dan Weber and Austin Thompson. So we got some content that's going to be coming up for you guys in the future, in the summertime, and we'll get you all ready for next year. We'll get you primed up ready for next year. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show. Check out BinghamtonHockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And thank you again to Rob Lapoulis, our MC, John Petitucci, our musical director, and head coach of the Binghamton Black Bears, Brant Sherwood. Pre-celebration chats with Connor McAnanama and Connor Smith. Thank you very much for everybody for listening. And hey, let's all root for the Rob Lapoulis. He calls games for the Adirondack Thunder. I think they're in the third round of the Kelly Cup playoffs. Adirondack has a chance, obviously, to get to the finals, and if they can get to the finals and they win the championship, that'll be two teams from upstate New York playing minor league hockey, winning a championship, and Syracuse Crunch are also still in it up in the AHL. So hopefully we can get a couple more championships here in New York State, proving to everyone that New York State is a great place to play hockey and for fanship. So again, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We'll talk to you next week here on the Power Play Post Show. Again, I'm your host, Bob Howard, and thank you for listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.